Hello and welcome back to the Hyperspace Podcast. My name is Sam and I'm joined by my lovely co-host Michael Ghosh. Michael, did you have a nice Easter?
Yeah, did you?
I did. Thank you. Yeah, it was a good break. We decided to take a week off, for the Easter holidays to rest up. So we could prepare some excellent content for you this week. And talk about this week, we are going to be talking about the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, not the one you might be thinking though. We're talking about the original 2003 version, now on Disney Plus, and me and Michael have been watching it, and we're gonna give our thoughts on the series and some great good things about it, some bad things, and yeah, just giving our thoughts. But yeah, let's get right into it. Michael, what do you think about the series?
Um, it's definitely a feast for the eyes. Lots of action, not so much talking. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting thing for us to go and look back at, especially as we're very familiar with the Clone Wars, the newer show, I should say, but I have never seen the 2003 one. So yes, it's a weird thing for them to put on Disney Plus as well.
Yeah, no, certainly. I didn't really expect it because I knew it was on YouTube, but I'd never got around to watching it. And then they put it on Disney Plus, and I was like, well, you might as well now. Look, it's certainly a feast for the eyes. Is an understatement. It is basically if Michael Bay got given a load of cheap animation in 2003 and was like, right, go make some Star Wars stuff, and it's just basically explosions, non-stop action, and very little plot. Um, One thing that struck me was the animation. I thought at times it was a bit jarring, but it wasn't actually as bad as I thought it'd be, and it kind of holds up. Bear in mind, it came out in 2003.
I think there's parts of it where it looks very very dated, and there's parts of it where you can imagine this coming out this year as in the same sort of context as some sort of mini series style thing again. It's I think so, yeah, again, the action sequences are very good, but in the like slower moments of the show, the animation style doesn't suit it as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it later, but the space combat is interestingly animated. Some of it, again, similar to what we were talking about. Some of it very good. Some of it is very just confusing to look at, but definitely enjoyable either way.
Yeah, nah, it is 2 hours of just a lot of fun. If you go into it wanting a really great plot, fantastic storyline, you'll be disappointed. But if you're going into it thinking I just want to go see lots of ships blow up, then it's probably the one for you. I mean, one of the things that struck me early on is within about 5 minutes there was this space battle, and there are just millions. And it's like having watched the Clone Wars, and you normally see like a few squadrons. Here there are millions, and just so many V-19 fighters against like a millions of separatist ships. And I just don't know what's going on, to be honest. A lot of the time it's just mental. I don't understand why they've done it on such a major scale that even I think in like a war situation, there's too much going on.
I think some of the action doesn't have the same weight maybe the the 2008 Clone Wars onward show had. But, again, especially when that show had a lot of time to develop and sort of figure itself out, I guess. Whereas this is a mini series, but I think a lot of the fights what we're talking about, where it's just hordes against hordes, don't really have much meaning. I mean, I know that there isn't much of a plot, to be honest, but especially when it's hordes of either ships or droids or clones, just loses a lot of anything, any sort of weight to any of the fighting. Where I think where the show shines is when in the sort of lightsaber combat, or when it's one on one. or the fight with Dirge is pretty good. It's that I think that's where it shines how good the animation is. But when it's, like you said, you can't keep track of what's going on, in that space combat. But when Anakin's chasing Ventress, that I think was very good, and how that was done was really good. Again, because you can tell what's going on, and because it's such a quick moving animation style, it doesn't. I don't think it complements doing these great hordes as much as doing these sort of very small one-on-one fights.
Yeah, no, I agree. I found the Anakin against Ventress fight. I thought it was good and well executed, but there was also something I just found so funny about it, because it wasn't necessarily the fight, but the fact that clones get there, and Anakin is there, just like, I've got a bad feeling about this, or say something along those lines, and then you just see a clone flying through the air behind
Yeah.
him. Just these clones are flying everywhere, and he's just there like, something's going on here. It's just, I found it almost comedic at times.
It's like again with the Jedi Force powers, they're so overpowered in this. How many droids they're able to push over. Again, it's not that it's not entertaining. It's obviously more so we're thinking about the again, we're approaching it, I guess, the same we would approach the Clone Wars 2008, rather than maybe how someone who saw this when this came out would approach it, as this sort of this sort of mini series to fill in Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith. We're reviewing this kind of in the same way we would when we talk about the Clone Wars and what that was able to accomplish, if that makes sense. It's they accomplish very different things, and it's hard to say why they made certain decisions with some of the fights just so weird, and like you said, funny. A lot of the fights are actually just comical, rather than necessarily being really serious. I think the Grievous is really good in the show, though, and the fights with him are really interesting.
Yeah. Now, Grievous, I think, was one of the best parts of this. I thought when he entered the scene, it's like, oh, here we go. And he within a few minutes of him being in there, he had a 1v5 with literally 5 Jedi Knights, including like Ki-Adi-Mundi, Shakti, Ayla Secura,
and Shaggy.
And Shaggy, and some other the Jedi. And literally only 3 of them come out of that surviving.
Rip Shaggy.
Shakti, R.I.P. Shakti and Ayla Secura both have like bad injuries, and it's just like, wow, Grievous. I mean, it's a bit too OP, but it's a bit like, wow, this is he really means business.
I think that's how he was meant to be in the Revenge of the Sith, is a bit more intimidating, because I don't know if it's because I've watched it so many times, but it's kind of comical watching Grievous a lot of the time. I don't know whether that's something that's happened more recently, because I think all the prequels are just walking meme machines, but it's hard to take Grievous as serious, especially when he's just coughing and stuff. He's not. It's just like he's just a cyborg with asthma. He's not. You don't see him kill any Jedi, and I think maybe that's what this does really well. And I guess even to a certain extent, the Clone Wars TV show did well, was showing Grievous hunting Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, even in the newer Clone Wars, I mean, you literally see him like stab a Padawan, shoot a Padawan, sorry, and murder him. But in here you definitely see him just destroying everyone. You see him kill another 2 Jedi, and we finally get a definitive answer of how Grievous got his cough. Mace Windu force crushing him, and then ever after that he just has a cough. Unfortunately, this isn't canon, but it's true. That'd have been funny. That's how he got his cough. Mace Windu just kind of force crushed him, and then he just got on a ship and flew away. That would have been great.
I think it's we'll go back to we did briefly mention Disney Plus had this on. I do find it weird they put something that effectively they've decanonized. I mean, it was decanonized by the newer Clone Wars, but that they don't really like the expanded universe stuff, and yet they've added this vintage collection of stuff, which is all not canon. It's a very strange move for Disney, and I wonder if this is. I wonder if it's a move towards the fans, or whether they're just doing it so they have more stuff on the Disney Plus platform.
Yeah, I think it might be a move for the fans, because I think a lot of fans really like when they released the original Clone Wars series that we're talking about, the 2003 one. A lot of fans were really happy because I didn't realize there's actually quite there's a reasonable fan base for just the
Yeah,
and I didn't quite realize this until watching it and discovering more. But yeah, I think this is definitely a move towards the fans and going, listen, we know you're a bit divided, and we apologize for everything we've done, but here's more content. Forgive us, give us your money, kind of thing.
it's yeah. I feel like Disney keeps pulling and pushing us away as fans, and yeah, maybe I think I'd like to think this is maybe them going again towards trying to increase the fan base, or at least fix the issues in it. Yeah, it's a nice thing for them to do, to put on Disney Plus. They already own the rights to it. It's not they put everything on Disney Plus anyway that they own. So it's good to see that again. You said there's quite a dedicated fan base. I know someone who's never seen the Clone Wars that we've seen, the newer one. Yet he's seen this and he said it's really good. And he was saying, "Oh, it's done by the guy who did Samurai Jack," which I haven't seen, but it's supposed to be very good as well. So yeah, there's definitely this. You're right. There's this dedicated fan, part of the fandom who really love this. So
Yeah.
we can see why. I mean, as much as we're kind of, I guess, saying, oh, there's not much substance to it, or we're coming from the sort of attitude of the Clone Wars, the CGI animated one, rather than sort of on its own, because on its own it's fine. It's really entertaining and is very good for something trying to fill in the Clone Wars. But then I think there is a fair gulf between this and the Clone Wars in 2008, that series that yeah, there's a reason why the fan base love, like the large quantity of the fan base love the Clone Wars. And I haven't heard anyone asking for this to become canon. I think people are happy it exists, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel about it? You think it does anything better than the Clone Wars from 2008?
This I'm not sure if it necessarily does anything better. There's a few interesting storylines, and one of the things that's pretty much the same is the Mon Calamari storyline with Kit Fisto. That's like also in the newer Clone Wars, where they've changed the plot a bit, but it's very similar. But I think there's a lot about it that's good, but I think that the new show does almost everything better. But at the same time, it's five years younger. So it came out 5 years later with better technology. George Lucas kind of used the show he put it out there thinking, are they going to like it? Realized they were going to like it. And then was like, oh, right, okay, now let's make a canonized one. And I think there's definitely stuff in here that you could enjoy. It's rewatchable if you just want to put something on in the background, or you just want to watch loads of ships blow up, like Star Wars ships blow up. And I think it's great. I don't think it necessarily does anything better, but without this, I don't think we'd have the modern Clone Wars. So we owe this show a lot.
I think one of the big elements we're going to talk about things that this show did that maybe the movies hadn't alluded to was Ventress, and Ventress has just been kind of taken out of this show, and a lot of the character that they had built up in this, this sort of almost Sith character who isn't a Sith, and they, who's being trained under Count Dooku is brought over, but the amount they expanded upon this concept really fleshes it out as Sarge Ventress as a character, if that makes sense. She's really like, especially towards the end, you're very sympathetic to her turn to the dark side, how she got where she is.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is Ventress is such a great character.
One of the best characters I think from the Clone Wars.
Completely, yeah. In this, she's great. She doesn't have as much screen time, to be honest, as I would have liked in this series of the Clone Wars necessarily. But in the more modern one, the one we all love, that she gets a really great story. She has a great character arc, and yeah, she is definitely one of the best Clone Wars characters. And yeah, she's such a great person. Going back to the plot of this, one thing that I found really nice is there isn't much talking in here. When they started talking, hearing Obi-Wan, and it's like straight away, that's James Arnold Taylor. Carrie, so it's the same voice actor as in the new Clone Wars. He keeps his role as Anakin, and then Tom Kane as well keeps his role as Yoda. And it was so great to be watching here. And then all of a sudden, a surprise, thinking, oh, there are some familiar voices, and it's just great because I think James Arnold Taylor, especially, is fantastic.
He nailed it.
And it was just really great. A really nice surprise to hear him in this.
Yeah, he absolutely nailed it. And again, it's like it kind of feeds into what you said, which maybe this was just as much as this may have been how they were planning originally to fill out the Clone Wars. I think when they saw the success, they realized they'd kind of wasted the opportunity, and that's why they did the Clone Wars movie and the TV show following it. Which again, the Clone Wars was originally going to just be the movie. It was going to originally be a TV show, and then George Lucas was like, "No, we'll make it into a movie." So 4 episodes got put together, which is why the Clone Wars movie is not good.
Yeah.
And then they ended up turning it into a TV show though because of the commercial success. Or I imagine that's because of the commercial success. They saw it was viable as a TV show. Again, the commercial success may not be the box office revenue, but more likely the merchandising, which is the thing that's profitable with Star Wars. Which, again, I wonder if that's how much that plays into how Disney make decisions on what they do in Star Wars, and whether that's part of the reason why the fan base has been divided. Decisions have been made based on what will make money and what will make good merchandise.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because before this, I was doing some research on the original Clone Wars and why they made it, and the reason they made it is someone came to George Lucas and went, "Right, we need to sell some more Star Wars toys. Can you make something that people will love and enable us to make some more toys and make more merchandise?" So this is a show that, to be honest, was made just to sell some more toys, and it really became more than that.
I honestly, you say that, it doesn't surprise me too much that this was made to sell toys. I mean, aptly, you'd made earlier the comparison to Transformers, which is a franchise entirely based on selling toys. So it makes a lot of sense that would be the case. But again, I think while the approach may have been from a cynical angle, they weren't doing it just for the cynical. They were doing it to provide the fans with something which would give them, I guess, the reason to purchase the merchandising. But I think there was this big gap they could fill, if that makes sense, and they had the opportunity to fill. So I don't know. I guess I'm being a bit hypocritical, but I don't feel like it was made it from as a cynical viewpoint as maybe some Disney decisions may have been done.
Sure. Yeah. Going back to the voice actors. We talked about how it was great to have Tom Kane, James Arnold Taylor, but one of the most dislikable characters is Anakin. I mean, he is so annoying in this. And this sounds harsh, but thank goodness they replaced him in Atlanta. Thank goodness, because he's so irritating.
Thing is, the thing is, he's very much designed to be like that. I think in
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
which if I'm not going to say whether that's good or not, really, I didn't enjoy it personally. I think Anakin was one of the worst aspects of this, although could have been worse. I've seen worse voice acting, so we'll give him that. It's not the worst voice acting I've ever seen in my life, but you know,
yeah,
it's not that's not a good recommendation, is it? But yes, the returning voices were very good. But yes, Anakin is very annoying and brash, and he's so frustrating to listen to him say things in the show, um, and it kind of reminds me of how Ahsoka was in the first season. Again, I feel like when we now go watch the first season on the movie, we have this sort of love for this character, so we can
yeah.
overlook it. But if you took the first season on its own, Ahsoka is more or less the same as Anakin is in this show, if that
Sure.
makes sense. It's not even necessarily the voice acting; it's the lines as well. Again, I think the voice acting is very bad, but the lines also don't help. Whereas I guess with Ahsoka, well, we were talking about Ahsoka had good voice acting, just was meant to be quite annoying and
Yeah.
this sort of young, you know, I don't know how to describe it. This sort of young, rebellious teenager, because that's the market.
Yeah.
Again, merchandising. They want to have a wide appeal for the TV show, but they were able to make that character so much more than this annoying, whiny character because they had this development. And again, I guess they had maybe the benefit that Anakin didn't in this, which is a very good voice actor, and Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah. Nah, Ashley Eckstein is a fantastic voice actor, and I'm glad she got to portray Ahsoka. I know you're a
Yeah.
bit gutted that she couldn't portray Ahsoka in the newer ones, but
Yes, I am. I think that again kind of speaks volumes about how I feel about this Ahsoka and the way that they would develop her, which is, as far as like I'm concerned, the voice is Ahsoka, so it's hard not to see the voice actress play her just because it doesn't sound the same. Not that Rosario Dawson did a bad job; she did a fantastic job, just different. And maybe that's something that they realized is that with Anakin, they realized the voice acting didn't suit what they wanted for him, because they didn't need him to be the really brash one. They wanted him slightly more matured because they knew they were going to have Ahsoka to sort of fill in this sort of more Padawan sort of learner character, if that makes sense. Because even though Anakin's a knight in the Clone Wars show, or he becomes a knight in the Clone Wars show, it's very much that Obi-Wan's the master and he's the apprentice, even when he does become a knight. Whereas in the Clone Wars, he is a knight, and while they still have that dynamic a little bit, it's more in line with two colleagues, or like like they say, two brothers, rather than this teacher and learner, which I think is again more fitting for how the films portray their relationship.
yeah, sure. I'm going to something that a few things that I thought were interesting choices in this show. I know one of the things you love your history and like military history, so a few of these things you're not very happy with. But there was quite a lot of jousting, which was interesting choices, because I'm not really sure how effective they'd have been with people shooting at them. I don't really understand why they did it. And one
Yeah.
of the things while they were jousting was one of the characters. I forgot his
Oh,
name.
Dirge, the
Yeah,
indestructible
yeah, he
tentacle man.
yeah, the indestructible tentacle man hit an ATTE with a stick and it blew up. And I'm not sure. how that happened, but yeah, the jousting and that bit I thought was a bit strange. I know
I
you're not a particular fan of
there's again, it's not. It's again with those poles. They're just meant to be normal sticks. It's not like And we'll quickly go to military history, but in World War II, the Japanese used basically a rocket launcher, but it didn't launch rockets. It was literally a stick, and a guy would stab it into a tank, and it'd blow up the tank. I'm pretty sure those lances weren't one of those.
yeah.
It was literally just a normal like what is it? A normal lance, and he just stabs it, and the ATT blows up, which is ridiculous, especially when you see in the Clone Wars how much it takes to, you see an AT-AT shoot in Rebels and nothing happens really.
Oh,
And some bloke on a bike with a stick beats it.
yeah. I mean, how much did the jousting frustrate you? I
It just
mean,
doesn't make. Thing is, it's like fun to watch, but it just doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
Like there's again, if they were bulletproof, sure, why not? But they're not. It just does. It doesn't make that much sense to be doing like, cavalry charges against robots. But I think that may be the summary of the show. Fun, but it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
It's completely chaotic. It's very much spectacle over substance, if that makes sense. There is substance to some of the characters and the character designs, and then we talked. I think Dirge would have been really good in the new Clone Wars, and again we talked about Star Wars Adventures, but as a whole, there is basically no substance.
Yeah, I feel like
So,
Volume 2 is a bit more plot driven, but it
mm,
still is just a lot of fighting. I like the fact though that the show kind of comes full circle to the end of Volume 2, ends at the Battle of Coruscant, like Anakin and Obi-Wan rushing to them. I mean, the newer Clone Wars, like the latest series of the Clone Wars, kind of intertwines with that. But I like the fact that this series ends Battle of Coruscant. You see how Palpatine gets captured, and I kind of like that about it. And you get to see a lot more of Battle of Coruscant. I know it's not canon, but it's quite cool that you can imagine that.
yeah, it was again. I think it's a piece of its time. Like if that makes sense, it's something that was made in 2003 and it feels very 2003, but it did a good job at what it was meant to be doing, which is a mini series filling in, like you said, and leading up to Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, it's just a really peculiar thing that exists now, that has been replaced by something that I think is very well beloved, and a lot of characters who are now moving beyond the Clone Wars and the follow-up show Rebels, and like Ahsoka, moving on to bigger things now. And I think that's what this show couldn't do, but it, like you said, it led the way for the stuff we, I guess, love as fans, and the stuff we grew up with, which is the newer Clone Wars show.
Yeah, yeah, no, completely. I think that wraps up our discussion on this. But quickly, Michael, would you recommend people watch this if they haven't already? And what did you think? Would you say it's a good or bad show?
Yes, I would recommend this. Again, it's very short; it's 2 hours, and yeah, it's entertaining. There's lots of good. They did a lot of good things with this, despite the criticism we've given it, and it is a good show.
Yeah, yeah, no, completely. I would agree. I think you should give it a watch if you haven't already, and just to see some exciting action sequences. If you want to put it in the background, it's something that you could definitely have on in the background. And yeah, if you just want a good time and see loads of Star Wars ships blow up, then this is definitely for you. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you've watched it, and let us know what content do you want to be seeing on this channel. Let me and Michael know. But yeah, thank you for watching, and may the force be with you.